We're back. I know it's been a minute. Hey guys, what's going on? Liam here from the Outside Insider and Philly Sports Network. I've had a dodgy haircut and a dodgy few days. All right, I was meant to stream on Wednesday. Wasn't feeling great for just whatever reason. And then Thursday just felt infinitely worse. Like, I'm all good. Nothing to worry about. Just, I think, a bit of mental burnout, I guess. But the idea of carrying a 3-hour preseason stream on my own potentially was a bit harrowing, I guess. Like, I couldn't have been as chaotic as I wanted to be. I didn't want to sit here being, yeah, great, Kenny Pickett. Like, it's just not fair on you guys. So it took a couple of days to just get my mind right, get back in it. And conveniently enough, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. So I appreciate you guys being patient and sorry for bailing on the streams 2 days in a row. Hopefully you don't hate me too much and today's makes up for it. But I hope you at least enjoyed the preseason game because there was a lot to like in it. And we'll be talking all about that and the risers and the fallers in today's. Let's come on now. Look, we're what? 2 minutes into the stream. Yes, it's a bit dodgy. All right. At one point, I shit you not, I said, look, give me a 0 to a 2 up here. The sides, I think, are great. Right? I was like, give me a 0 to a 2, take some length off the top so I can slick it back. And he started brushing it all forward and washing it, like spraying it and brushing it all forward and pushing this down. And at one point, I looked like Noel Gallagher and it was terrifying. So, I mean, it's not long enough to slick back. It just won't move. So it just sits here, which is worse, really. So I've been cucked by my barber there, and he never normally lets me down. And look, maybe I had it coming. All right, maybe he watched the show and he's a Kenny Pickett fan. Maybe he likes Nate Wiggins. I don't know what the deal is, but put it this way: I normally tip him quite nicely. There was no tip. I was not a happy young man. And now I look like a young man. I look like I'm 15 again, and I feel like I'm 15 again. All right, it's just not good. As Bird Brain says, back to my days. Didn't notice how bad it was. Like, can you at least? Look, the beard game's here. Let's come back to this before we get into the Eagles talk. Liam's beard watch. Look at that. Look, that took a week. Yeah, puberty. We've hit that. So if I just put a hat, should I put a hat on? If I get a hat, will I look better? Or does it look weird? I'd say I'm not a fan of wearing caps indoors, but I know in America that's quite normal. A lot of podcasters do that. I don't think I'm that level yet. There is a hat. So I don't know. We'll just pretend it's fine. All right, we'll pretend it's fine. Let's get into the Eagles because I know it's been a while. But again, I appreciate you guys being patient. And sorry again for no streams on Wednesday and Thursday, but we are back today and we will be back on Monday at 6 p.m. I guess before we get to the Eagles, just some exciting news. PSN, Philly Sports Network, does now have a partnership with Sports Reference, which is really cool. So for those of you that use the website, I mean, for me, I use it daily, but I guess I might be in a bit of a niche because I need it for work and stuff. But whether you're looking for football players, basketball, baseball, hockey, it doesn't really matter. If you search Joel Embiid, if you want stats, if you want game logs, if you want analytics, like Sports Reference just is the site you go to, whether it's football reference, baseball reference, whatever, like you're there all the time, whether it's fantasy drafting, like I use it religiously. It's like my Bible. And we've now got a partnership with them where if you go on any player's profile, so for instance, if you went on Jalen Hurts' profile today and you wanted to go back at his numbers to end the ridiculous slander on Twitter, there's a little section called Player News, and now Philly Sports Network pieces will show up with stories from that player. So if we wrote an article saying like 5 winners from preseason and we listed Nakobe Dean as one of them, that story would show under his profile. So it's a really cool thing. Like, we love the website. I had no idea they were based out of Philly as well. But it's just great. Like, I've got so much love for the product they've got. And I've used it since I was like 18, 19, probably earlier than that. So to have our stories on that is pretty cool. So next time you're looking at some Eagles stats and you're trying to make a point to someone at work or a friend that's shit talking one of your favorite players, just have a look because you might see an article or two there that you recognize. So it's just a really cool thing. Something that's not a cool thing. The Eagles don't have a lot of problems this offseason, but Kenny Pickett is one. Okay. I don't know how much longer this can go on for. And something just didn't sit right with me as I grinded through yesterday's game, sat there trying to watch it and take as much in as I could. And he's struggling. You know, he has about 3 passes that have gone more than 5 yards. Will Shipley's went for 19, and that accounted for near enough like a quarter of his entire yardage in like 20-odd passes. And it just wasn't pretty. He was missing short throws. He was sacked like 4 times in about an 8 or 9 play stretch. There was no command of the offense. I understand offenses look vanilla in preseason, okay? I fully understand. But that doesn't mean the quarterback play has to. Like, I said this last week, it depends what the Eagles were looking for. If they're sending him out to do 1-step drop, 3-step drop reads and just 1-2 read plays and ball's gone, to just try and sustain a drive, I can kind of get behind it because they're not asking him to go and he hasn't got to prove anything. He hasn't got to go out and air things deep. Like he's a 24 game starter or whatever it is with the Steelers. He's a former fairly high draft pick. He's sat under some great names. He's been an NFL quarterback. All right. This isn't a shot. So they don't need him to go out there and start putting on the razzle dazzle in the same way Tanner McKee does. However, I think there's a limit between like holding him back a bit and then having him just not really have any kind of idea what he's doing. And that has to be addressed. Like one game is fine. 2 games of the exact same thing. Like this isn't new. This isn't different now. We've seen Kenny Pickett in game 1, maybe gave him the benefit of the doubt. Game 2 comes out and it's the exact same thing of just one-step reads, just honing on a first read. And if it's not there, throw it anyway. It's a 2 or 3 read play. It'll go from left to right, and it'll go left, miss it, throw it, incomplete. Throw it at the receiver's 3 feet, throw it at the receiver's head, throw it at the coach on the sideline. It doesn't matter. If the ball comes out, Kenny's happy. There were some awkward scrambles that made no sense to anyone. And it just begs the question, like, what is the plan here? Like, what are we actually doing? Because I'm in 2 minds, right? I'm a Tanner McKee guy. I will go out on a limb and I'll say I was the first person to wave that Tanner banner. All right, I was sat there last year in that first game against the Ravens in preseason, waving the banner, making ridiculous edits. I was all in on Tanner McKee before anyone else really caught the rhythm of this year. Like the OG fan club started over stateside, right? It's this side of the pond, and then we started waving it globally. So I'm a Tanner believer. I don't think he's ready to be an NFL quarterback. I wouldn't feel confident him going in game, 2 minutes to go, 4th quarter, down 7. You need McKee to do something. I like his confidence. I like the fact he's got an arm on him and he's not afraid to sling it deep and take a chance. However, his footwork genuinely scares me. Like it's very sloppy. It's uncoordinated. He looks like a bit of a giraffe in the pocket. And when you're against 3rd and 4th stringers, you can kind of get away with that. When you're against like NFL starters and you're against some, like, I hate to bring him up, someone like Micah Parsons. If you've got Micah Parsons running at you at full speed, is that flaily, flimsy base going to hold up? He's like the inverse Nate Sudfeld. Nate Sudfeld had very good fundamentals in the pocket, brilliant poise, would climb the ladder in the pocket very well and able to air something out. McKee, I think, leans on his height a bit much. And because of that, takes a step and just wobbles on it because he can see. And it's like, when you're on a boat and you go over a wave and your view changes a bit as you go up and down with the waves. That's like Tanner McKee in the pocket. He just sort of stands there and wobbles around and everything's like, just sling it over there and it works and that's fine. But I don't think it's sustainable yet. I think he's got all the talent in the world and he's got all the upside in the world to develop that, to work on that and become an NFL capable backup QB. As of right now, I'm not in. All right. It's just not there for me yet. But he is naturally going to look better. I'd like to think if you put Pickett in the same spot excuse me. I totally lost my train of thought. I was reading a comment. If you put Pickett in the same spot that McKee was last night against the 4th stringers and the guys on the edge of the roster, I'd like to think he'd look a bit better. And I'd like to think, conversely, that McKee against the 1s and the 2s would struggle a little bit more or not be as lethal or as aggressive or as confident. Okay, that's fine. But I would also think that McKee would be closer to his peak at that level than Pickett would be away from it at the bottom, if that makes sense. If you drop Kenny Pickett to the 4th and 5th stringers, I don't think you're going to see a marked improvement. You would see less of a regression. Sorry, you'd see less of a regression from Pickett, but less upside from McKee, right? But it doesn't mean that Pickett is sustainable because that's like saying Tanner McKee is, on the same level as Marcus Mariota at this point. Like it doesn't do anyone justice. The issue the Eagles have is that they are tied to this man for 2 years because when they traded for him, they inherited the rest of that rookie contract. It's got 2 years left on it and around $4.7 million left in guaranteed value. They can't afford that money to just go whistling in the wind. It's not feasible for them. So they've either got to bank on it and say, look, go out there, you're our backup quarterback and we'll ride with you, or you explore other options. And I think for a team that is this close to a championship, a team that is this close to getting back to the Super Bowl, to making a run, you can't chance it. You absolutely cannot chance it. Whether it's the Chiefs, whether it's the Rams, what you can pick a million teams that have got experienced backups back there. Pickett isn't experienced. He's just a backup in that sense. He's an NFL starter, but he wasn't like, I don't want to say Case Keenum level. Like Case Keenum is the optimal backup quarterback as someone that has been there, done it, won you big games, shown his moxie as a quarterback time and time again. The whole reason Pickett got traded was because he progressively got worse, hid behind a vaunted running game, and had brilliant receivers the entire time. As soon as some of those pieces were taken away, he looked absolutely shambolic. The Eagles took a flyer on him. He's a local kid, and he's, again, been in the NFL for a while. Doesn't mean to say it was a right decision. It's a low-risk gamble, but it's still one you've gambled and one you have to be accountable when it doesn't pan out. So they're now in a situation where Kenny Pickett has looked the better quarterback. The man in the middle is Will Greer, and they've not done anything with him. They gave him, 5 or 8 passes, I think, before throwing McKee in for the rest of the second half. What's the point in him being there? What is the point? Okay, imagine this. Imagine you're at school and you're doing your exams and someone asks you a math question on the paper and it says, the Philadelphia Eagles need 3 quarterbacks, okay? They have Jalen Hurts, who is already number 1. No matter what happens, Jalen Hurts is already in, okay? Number 2 will be Kenny Pickett, and number 3 will be Tanner McKee. What happens to Will Greer? What's the point in him being there? What is the actual point? If the whole depth chart is done, why have you got someone that talent-wise should be in the middle between Pickett and McKee with the upside to at least challenge for what Kenny Pickett's doing? And he's getting no looks. Like, if Pickett is struggling, if I'm a coach and Kenny Pickett is struggling and I want him to get better because I'm locked into him at quarterback for money reasons, the best thing I would want to do is give him competition from someone that can, maybe ignite a spark under his ass. So you give him someone like Will Greer to go into a game, lead a couple of drives, score a couple touchdowns, and just keep him in the game and let him feel the pressure of like, this guy's moving an offense. I'm not doing that. Whatever I'm doing out there in the same system is not working. I have to be better. Why isn't that happening? That's what I don't get. I don't care who the backup quarterback is. If they ride with Kenny Pickett, I'll question the judgment, but it is what it is. But I think we can all agree this isn't working out. And you can all agree that Tanner McKee looks way better than what we see from Kenny Pickett. But Will Greer, the man in the middle, has had no opportunity. There is no physical point in him being on the roster at this point. Because Tanner McKee's got a spot, Kenny Pickett's got a spot, Jalen Hurts has got a spot. Well, why is he there? Other than to carry some pads and, help in with the film room. There's no need. You're wasting money, right? He is a capable arm. I'm not saying he's going to light the world on fire, but I think he can at least give a jolt of energy or something, an alternative to Kenny Pickett. Okay? I'd liken the two to WWE and AEW. All right? AEW isn't for everyone. Not everyone likes wrestling. Not everyone likes a purer form of it, like what AEW tries to be. But it's an alternative, and it's a little bit cheaper, and it has a little bit of a different angle. And when WWE was in the trenches all those years, from like 2018 to about 2020, and it couldn't quite get a grip, and everything sucked, and it was very complacent, it took AEW existing to send WWE to arguably the highest heights it's ever has, right? It's the best product out there right now. So I'd liken it to that Will Greer existing should be enough to ignite something in Kenny Pickett. And for whatever reason, the team isn't showing it. Will doesn't have a chance. And it's just allowing Kenny Pickett to be complacent, miss passes, take bad sacks, miss reads, and be like, yeah, we can hang our hat on that. Like, there is no way no one can look. There's no way anyone can look at what Kenny Pickett has done in the last 2 weeks and go, do you want that man backing up Jalen Hurts? Where week 14, game on the line, a win secures you the number 1 seed in the NFC. You're down by 7. Pick a quarterback. Kenny Pickett. No one's saying it because it's not true. So it's like they're almost falsely like handcuffed themselves to him. But it's also not like they're in a position where they can't swallow the cap hit. I know it's a bit bigger and it gets a bit complicated. And I think they'll be on the hook for around 14 million or something if they were to let him go, which is probably why they're not. Doesn't mean you have to start him. I would pay $4 million for him not to play at this point. I would happily. If I had $5 million to my name, I would give $4 million to the Eagles just to let Kenny Pickett ride a bench and give it to Greer, give it to McKee. It cannot get any worse. There is no downside. There is only asymmetric upside to not letting Kenny Pickett see the ball in live games, right? I don't care if he's QB2 or not. He can be listed as QB2, but he damn sure isn't taking a snap with it in the regular season if I'm Nick Sirianni. If my job, bear in mind, Nick Sirianni was on the line this past offseason, didn't really know where he was going to be. His coaching staff were fired. He was somehow retained. You've now got a team that is infinitely better than it was this time a year ago, and you're going to ride into the season and you're tied to a quarterback that can't throw a slant. There is no way as a coach with his job on the line, on the hot seat, you look at what Kenny Pickett has done and be like, if Jalen goes down, I'm fully confident I will have a job next year. It doesn't work like that. You cannot have that mentality. So I don't know, maybe something changes in game 3, but it's just bizarre because it's like they feel they have to play him because they've paid him, when in reality they don't. Like James Bradbury is another example. We'll get to that in a minute. I want to quickly get to some of your comments. I needed to get that out of my system because I just don't feel there is a world where Kenny Pickett should be anywhere near that team. He shouldn't be anywhere near Jalen Hurts. It's just not good. He's like a toxic ex. Just stay away. You're corrupting his mind, and now he hates himself. Just get away. Move over there and play Scrabble where you're not going to hurt anyone. Like, this isn't sustainable. We'll get to a couple of your comments because I know I've missed a few and I've been ranting a bit. Zach always wears hats indoors. Fair enough. He has got one on his profile picture as well, so we know he's not lying. May as well trade for Zach Wilson. I think I'm good on that. Somehow I think we'll be all right. I think the Christian Hackenberg experiment for me was where I tap out. You know, like that happened. Let's never do that bit again. I'd still argue he might have been better than Kenny Pickett, but the game's the game. Is it me or does Shipley look like Sprouse? I'm assuming you mean Sproles. Do you mean Sproles? As in, like, I'm assuming you mean in terms of running and not like physical lookalikes, because that'd be like saying. But then again, I look like every generic white person ever, apparently. So you never know. Happy Friday, says Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Happy Friday to you, sir. Hope all is well in your world. Timor should have got a proper game manager like James Richard Garoppolo. It's not even the worst shout. That's the worst thing about that. That's not even the worst shout. So we didn't see this coming. Tanner's much better second year. I think Tanner did take a big leap. I think we can all agree McKee's taken a big leap. But all of those flashes were there in year 1. I don't think he's done anything revolutionary. I just think that's a natural progression of being around the league for a year. Like, we used to see a lot of, I guess, misfires. The aggression was still there. He reminded me year 1 of Dane Evans. Like, highly reminded me of Dane Evans. Year 2, he feels a bit more within himself, but still having that gunslinger mentality. So he's got it there. I'm excited for year 3 for sure. I will quickly get to this. I've only just noticed someone's donated $5. I don't know how to pin it. There we go. Hang on. Tyrell Young, thank you so much. I hope I've not pronounced it. I've not mispronounced it, and it's Tyrell. I'm assuming it's Tyrell. If I'm wrong, I feel really bad. Call me crazy, but would Fields have been a better choice for a backup QB since he's another mobile QB like Hurts? I don't think that's a misfire at all. I think that's a very valid point. When you look at what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson, and they just have someone in behind that has the same skill set, you don't need them to go out and be the exact same quarterback. You just want to have a quarterback where you don't have to change the offense. You know, like, I know it's a bad example because they won a Super Bowl, but when they went from Wentz to Foles and they drastically stripped the offense back, it worked because it was so complicated before. With the Eagles and the way things are, you do need that rushing ability to some degree because it counts for so much. So I think you're 100% on the money. And thank you so much for the $5 donation. That's incredibly kind of you on a Friday, nonetheless, as well. So I hope you have a great weekend. But yeah, I think Fields would have been a shout. I know he was an option there for a while and some fans were clamoring for it. I think the only issue with Fields would have been he's still very young himself. Like, I know he's a similar age to Pickett, but I would class him in different brackets. Like, I feel Pickett is, well, he shouldn't be there to begin with. Fields, I believe, should be a starter. I don't think it will be long until he ends up claiming one of those spots back. If you look at the environment he's in now, I think he's got a chance to do it. But again, he's also in an environment where it's 2 quarterbacks playing a similar style, you know, like that's the format that you should go for. It's very rare that you'd have, like, for instance, Carson Wentz backed up by, I don't know, like Michael Vick. Like, I'm just trying to think of a random rogue rushing quarterback, but do you know what I mean? So they're just so different in styles. McKee feels like a game manager type player. I cannot tell for the life of me what they're doing with Pickett. Like, is Kenny Pickett just really bad? Or is it the fact that they're telling him, sustain a drive, don't turn the ball over, you're going to run it, take sacks if you have to, and just make short plays. 2-minute drill. Well, what if every drive? Because we don't know. We're not on the sidelines. And it's also a possibility where if I'm Nick Sirianni, I want him in a game to game manage. I don't want him winning a game because that is terrifying. I just want him to not lose it. So if I'm going out there telling him, check downs every play, check downs, screens, like, because I do feel like when he's in the game, and I hope I'm not wrong in saying this, and please someone like pull me up if I'm, wrong or a bit delulu, but I do feel like when he's in the game, there are more screens and there's more short action. With any other quarterback in the game, typically McKee, there's a lot more levels concepts. Like, again, it's a very vanilla offense. It's hard to say, but it feels like the second half, things really open up a bit and they start sending guys deeper with a couple little hitches over the middle to draw down a safety and give McKee a one-on-one look. I don't think they do that with Pickett. Like, from what I can recall, which I know it's only 2 games worth now, but it is just it's screens, it's dump passes, it's check downs, it's curls that are 3 yards, it's slants into receivers who are like bracketed by a corner and a linebacker. Like, in like this weird cover 2 concept that all defense will play where you've got man down there and then it's just cover 2 man. But do you know what I mean? Like, I cannot tell if they're just lending the playbook more to the other guys than Pickett because they want to see him be stable. And I think he's about as stable as he can be. Like, you're not going to get any worse than that. Like, but you now know he can do it, so why not, do it? Like, you know he can do it. You know he can produce and sustain drives and move the ball short, intermediate levels. You now need to see. That's the other thing. Like, if it was going that route, I would have said, game 1, protect the ball, sustain drives. Game 2, see what you can do. Go out there and play like it's the regular season. Go score points. You're going to have 3 drives. I want 10 points. Go get them. And just let him air it out. Let him play the type of football he wants. There was a frame in the first game, and it was very early on, but you'll recall it if you're in the stream for the watch along. He just looked very confused. Like, he was stood at the line of scrimmage, just like, quarterbacks obviously want to survey the field and look for mics and, check their receivers are lined up and maybe give little signals. But Pickett was just like he really looked uneasy. And if he can't grasp a vanilla offense, that's even more existentially worrying, I would say. So there's definitely an issue there. Saved by Grace. I'm sorry I haven't shouted out your comments. I keep rambling. Hit the like button, guys. Show love. That would be amazing if you could, guys. If you're enjoying the show, it's the best way to support what we do. I know we've got a lot of you guys watching on Twitter as well. So if you could hop over to the YouTube channel, hit that thumb up. It just helps us grow. It helps, the YouTube algorithm give chaotic British content to more Eagles fans. So in case Keenan when Nick Foles was there is disrespectful. Is Liam in Philly now? Oh, no, I'm not in Philly just yet, my friend. I'm sorry. I've disappointed you now. I'm still in England. I'm trying to come out. Like, I'm just trying to frame it of, do I wait and do a big trip or come out for a little one? I'd like to come out towards the end of the year. Depends money-wise, Christmas, tax bills, the like. But we'll see. If not, it should, and I've said this for years now, so I understand if you don't believe me, but it should be next year. And I want to try and put a couple little events on where we maybe rent a bar and get everyone in. It's like, I just want to talk to people that have, sorry, I just pushed someone over there. Just talk to people that have like read PSN for a while or been on the streams and the YouTube channel back in the day, and just people that have like, I don't know, if I've enhanced the coverage of the team some way and be like, oh my God, no, that's cool. Like, I want to come to that and just have a few drinks, do karaoke with everyone, like just have a laugh. Like, it'll be really cool. Or we can tailgate an Eagles game. That's also an option as well. So I wouldn't be mad at that. You could have had Fields as a kick returner as well. Yeah. I don't need him. Britton Covey, mate. Britton Covey's taken over the league. Don't you worry. I feel like he got his one shot play opportunity and was missed because Ross couldn't find the ball. See, Ross was a weird one because I thought Ross didn't play that bad last night. Just to segue a little bit, I guess, into guys that played well and others that didn't. I didn't think he was that bad. He was certainly better than game 1. He got off the line a bit more than he did in game 1. But there were still a couple of issues there. Like, I'm not, again, overly solid on him being wide receiver 3 at the minute. I don't think I want him near the slot. Like, but that's another one now because we haven't seen Paris Campbell yet in game action. John Ross hasn't done anything. Aeneas Smith has got a case of the dropsies, whether it's confidence, whether it's injury, I don't know. So it leaves you with Britton Covey, which I'm not mad at. It's very lucky that Britton Covey has stepped up when he has. Otherwise, we would be in a very, very difficult situation. I think the only reason that wide receiver 3 spot isn't being spoken about is because Britton Covey's looking good. Now, there are a couple other players that look fairly solid last night. I think then is it Ngata? I don't want to mispronounce that, but I probably butchered it anyway. Out of Clemson, obviously, third year player now. Look very good, but that's going to be the X spot. So, like, I don't think that will be enough to generate a roster spot out of thin air. If you're talking receivers, Smitty, AJ, it's probably going to be. I'd like to think Paris Campbell makes the roster. So from then you want depth. Then it's Covey for 4. 5. I don't know about Aeneas Smith. I really don't know about Aeneas Smith. I feel like it's another one where they might want him on the practice squad. They might not want to expose him to waivers. Having said that, I think you got John Ross. It gets murky. So like maybe Ngata's route is through that way. Now, in my latest roster prediction, which was before this game, I'll do an updated one. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Sunday. We'll see how we go. But I'll do an updated one. I had Johnny Wilson at wide receiver because I felt like that would, at tight end, because that would be his way of sneaking on where it doesn't overflow the wide receiver position. You could sneak him on at tight end. Technically, he can still be a receiver, but it allows you to add another wide out, if that makes sense. I guess it doesn't matter. The numbers are the same, but it was just me being a bit crafty, I suppose. Call me crazy, says Tyrell. We put all our chips in and trade our first round pick. Who would be worth? We put all our chips in and trade our first round pick. Who would be worth that trade for the Eagles right now? I don't know. I mean, you'd have to look at positions, wouldn't you? So, I mean, like previously, I would have said someone like Matt Judon. That's gone well. I think edge is a shout. Safety, maybe. Safety, again, is a strange one because it's so dependent on health. Like, on a good day, let's say week 5, on a good day, on a lovely Sunday evening in wherever they're playing, I want to say it's the Commanders. I might be. If I pulled out my arse, I'm quite proud. It's probably not, and it's going to be like the Falcons or something. But at safety, you should have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship, Cooper DeJean, maybe Avonte Maddox as 5 guys that you can rotate and move around. As of right now, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has only got one arm. Avonte Maddox has moved back to safety because Quinion Mitchell's playing in the slot, so he doesn't have a home. So he's just sort of like sleeping at a friend's house at the minute. Like he's just kipping on the couch, watching Netflix up till late, making a racket. He's there invading the space. Cooper DeJean is, working one-on-one with his best mate, doing hula hoops around the hips and playing catch. Reed Blankenship is serviceable. And who else am I missing? Sidney Brown has got a poorly knee and he keeps rubbing it going, like Peter Griffin or Family Guy. So that is weird, isn't it? That really out of 5 players at safety, one of them hasn't been there full time in Avonte Maddox. And the last time he did play there full time, I would say was woeful. Reed Blankenship is stable. I think he's a steady mid-range starter, would start for maybe 16, 17 teams in the NFL if needed. I don't think he's a high-end top 10 starter, but he does the job. And then that leaves you 3. So over half of your position, which is Johnson, Sidney Brown, and DeJean, are all nursing injuries. So if you make a trade, and obviously they've just signed Caden Stearns, who had previously played under Vic Fangio in his rookie year, was very, very good, then got injured 2022, injured 2023. He's back. So Caden Stearns might suffice that. I don't think they need a trade at safety. At edge, again, it's a really odd one. Like, I think it very much depends. In a sick world, Tyrell, in a horrible, crazy world that we live in, that definitely isn't possible, I would give up something for Hassan Reddick. And I don't know what I would give up. I think you'd have to give less than you gave. It'd be like a 3rd or a 4th and just get him. Okay, I'd give back. If I was a real sicko, I would give the Jets a conditional 4th round pick. So in the trade for Hassan, they got a conditional 3rd that went up to a 2nd. I'd give them a conditional 4th that moves to a 3 based on the exact same snap criteria, just to mug them off. I think that would be lovely. But for a 1st round pick to trade for someone, do you know what? It's not even likely, but I would say someone like Puka Nacua. because that would cement the offense. Like, unless you're going to trade for a high-end guard and you're going to, which is possible, like you either trade for a high-end right guard and you keep Becton at backup tackle and you allow Steen to develop underneath and trade that, or you go for a proven slot receiver. Like, the only reason Nakua broke out was because Cooper Kupp hurt his leg, like Cooper DeJean, and went, for a year. So I'd say bring him in. Like, he's zippy, speedy, he does everything. He's got a great catch radius. There was another Rams receiver he reminds me of that was there a couple years ago, and I've forgotten his name, but I think he played for Liberty. No, I had the name. And it's got Bella in it, and I forgot the name. It's Andy Isabella. That's it. That wasn't the Rams. That wasn't the Rams at the Cardinals. I don't know. Andy Isabella. Reminds me of Andy Isabella, but better. Like, if Andy Isabella could play football, it's Puka Nakua. So I'd probably go somewhere like that, but I'd be more inclined to go guard and just allow Steen in behind, Becton at right tackle. Like, I don't think there's enough depth at tackle at the minute to really be comfortable if Johnson goes down. Like, there is a world again. Lane Johnson goes down, Becton gets called in, but then that means Steen has to play guard, and I don't think he's ready. So I'd more likely trade for a starting right guard. My name familiarity with starting guards in the NFL isn't tremendous. However, I don't know. There are names out there already on free agents where they're not terrible. So it depends how you view it. But I'd probably say right guard or wide receiver 3. And he did play for the Cardinals. I did correct myself. I don't know why I thought the Rams. The Rams had another one that did play for Liberty. And I forgot his name now. But I had him. It sounds really annoying. I had him on College Football 14 back in the day. And I can't remember his name. It might have even been Georgia State. Oh, someone's got to find him. That's going to wind me up now. He was awful as well. It was the same like era as like Devin Duvernay, and it was him and this other guy. And Duvernay was the one that got the career out of it, which I was happy for. I was a big Devin Duvernay believer. I wanted him on the Eagles. Either way, that's a conversation for another day. If you need offensive lineup, you can have Colton McVitz. I'm all right again. You can't keep coming in here, flaunting your dodgy offensive line, Timor. It's not happening. But speaking of dodgy and Timor flaunting, Timor is a commissioner we've got a little fantasy league. There's like 15 of us in it, I think. Believe it or not, my team is not projected to come last. So I consider that a monumental win. And I just wanted to share that with the world because I'm a genius at this. I've never won a fantasy championship. I will win the PSM one this year. We'll live stream the drafting of that, and I will win that one. Yes, I have 2 quarterbacks on the same bye. No, that's not relevant. And I have thought ahead. Probably. But let's go back to Eagles talk. There's a couple other players that I want to spotlight. Gandy Golden? No, it wasn't us. So we're just digging deep now. We're doing that like typical guy thing of like just naming random football players and being like, yeah, streets will never forget. Streets will never forget. I can't remember who it is. Hang on. I need to find this. And it's going to be really bad content. And I'm really sorry. Georgia State wide receiver. It might not have been Georgia State, but I feel like it was. Not Todd Gurley. Was he Georgia State? Was it? Rams. I'll go on the Rams draft history because I'm pretty sure he was a Ram. Right. Bear with me. I will find him. And I'm using Sports Reference. See? For those that, Right. I don't know what year it was. How do I find previous years? I'm on my phone. I'm such a boomer at this. Someone finds it to me. I'll give you a little bit of Eagles merch for free. If someone can find him before I do, because I genuinely don't know who I'm looking for. And he might even be on the Rams, but I thought he was. This is bad. I'm going to guess 2018. Was it 2018? Nothing rings a bell. Can I say 2019? No. All right, never mind. I'll do it off stream and I'll come back next time because I can't sit here for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes yapping about a Rams receiver that may or may not have existed. I don't think that's good for any of us. Something that is good for us, though, as Eagles fans, Jeremiah Trotter and Nakobe Dean, both of them, again, look very, very solid. Like Nolan Smith was another one that pretty much stood out on the day. I was very impressed, very, very impressed with what I saw from Nakobe Dean. He does appear to have finally taken a step forward that we've wanted to see. I think the issue with Dean has just been health. Like, we haven't seen him consistently there. That first game last year against the Cowboys, arguably, I thought it was the Cowboys. I think it was Patriots. Either way, I'm really sloppy tonight. best player on the field that first game. I thought he was really, really good. And then he got injured, and then he came out with a brace on his knee, and everyone was like, tits, right, this isn't good. And that was sort of the end of that era for a while. And when he came back, he was barely improved over someone like Zach Cunningham, didn't add much, was still a liability in coverage, and that's flashed occasionally. Like, he's still not, I'd say, tremendous in coverage. Like, it's certainly the weaker point of his skill set. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not great. But I do think that in this specific defense, where you've got an extra DB on the field, a lot of heavy zone looks with like mixed up blitzes and stuff inside and corner blitzes and stuff, I think he's going to be better off. I think it's going to mask his deficiencies much better than a 4-3 would. In a 4-3, if you're playing the mic and you're responsible for that middle third of the field, whether it's going to be on a hook and a curl, whether you're playing that middle bit, like you're shadowing a running back, whether you're coming down in run support and filling gaps, like there's a lot you need to be good at. Like, it's hard to be a good Mike linebacker. You've got to be good at run fits. You've got to understand gap assignments. You need to be able to keep an eye on a running back. You've got to be able to tackle fundamentally well, and you've got to be nippy enough in coverage. You can't bite on a route underneath you. You can't bite on a route behind you. You can't bite on what the quarterback's doing. You can't be misled with your eyes. Like, it's a mess. It's an absolute mess. However, as a linebacker where you've got an extra player who shoulders some of those responsibilities, all you then really have to focus on, for instance, is going to be run support. If you've got 4 behind you, and you're in a middle 2 and you've got 2 wider corners who are going to be kind of filtering in on tight ends or whatever, and you're only responsible for the C gap, or you're only responsible for the running back, and you're not having to think about all the rest of this stuff because you've got a safety over here, you've got corner help to the right, and it creates this little pivot box where you can be a bit more freer without needing to worry. And I part of me wonders if whether the Eagles' obsession with Vic Fangio was it negates the biggest weakness on the team that they refuse to invest in. Linebacker has been terrible in Philadelphia for a long, long time now. Like, since Jordan Hicks level, I don't have had a good linebacker since. And you can say you're Nigel Badhams all you want. Camu Grugier-Hill and Alex Singleton, lovely guys. I love Alex Singleton. I think he might be the most wholesome player to have ever played for the Eagles. His family have always been tremendous to me. And I think, he played a great role, was a brilliant run defender. Camu Grugier-Hill, brilliant special teamer, carved out a role very quick, a little bit of a liability in pass coverage, but the game's the game. They haven't had a solid Mike linebacker for the better part of a decade, and they won't draft one. So I wonder if, like, they went through, Jonathan Gannon, they went through Sean Desai. Both of them had this very Vic Fangio-esque defense, both of them trying to put their own ego and spin on it. And they finally go, look, can we just get Vic in so we don't have to draft a linebacker? I don't want to draft one. I'd much rather draft Cooper DeJean. I don't want to take Jeremiah Trotter in the 2nd. I'd rather take him in the 5th. I don't want to add a big Brutus name in the 2nd to 3rd round when I can add a speedy wide receiver. I can get some safety help. I can get some cornerback help. Like, they've just never prioritized it. And I feel like instead of having to spend assets on a position they really don't want to, and I feel like by this point, it's by design, and it's because Howie Roseman doesn't see the value there. There's a reason they didn't pay any running back since 2015 anything. Like, anything. They were consistently, for the price of Miles Sanders last year on a 1-year contract in Carolina, just the first year of that contract, the entire Eagles backfield cost less. The entire backfield. So that was Gainwell, DeAndre Swift, I forgot who else was in it now, but those two, Boston Scott. All of them combined less. And they still ranked above most teams in rushing. It's not a coincidence. And it's the same with linebacker. Like, the defense isn't the strongest point of this team in coverage, but I do think it's by design. And instead of changing that design, they've just gone, look, can we get a team in place where we like drafting DBs, get Cooper DeJean roaming around, get Quenya Mitchell on the field, get Avonte Maddox down on the field if you have to. You've got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson now. Sidney Brown is a great box safety. He's going to be a great box safety. You've got guys there that can play run fits, that can cover those nippier wide receivers, that aren't going to be as stuck in the mud as linebackers would be in coverage, and can just provide you a little bit more time for the pass rush to get home. That's all it comes down to. The whole job at the back end of a defense isn't necessarily big pass breakups and turnovers. Like, as much as everyone wants it to be, and it's an ethos for the position group, and everyone gets paid to pick off the ball and whatever, like, at the end of the day, it's buy time. Because if you can box out a route, if you can jam a receiver and stay in his hip pocket, if you can sit on a curl route and just close down on it very quickly and take it away from a quarterback, that extra second and a half is the difference between a poor throw you can pick off because of the pass rush that's got there. So I really feel like they've put an emphasis on change the defense and just have a 3-4 where we've got DBs on the field that will do a linebacker's job better because I'll suck, rather than let's stay in a 4-3 and pay linebackers, which is going to cost us millions and millions of dollars and countless draft picks and years to develop them. Admit it's an L, take the L on it. It's not great. It never has been great. Let's just take the rest of the team that is very, very strong, build around that. And now you can argue that secondary is one of the nicest in football. Slay, I've said negative words about him. I'm not overly respectful of the way he carries himself, but as a player on the field, one of the best that the Eagles have had for a while. Avonte Maddox, solid. Quinion Mitchell, great upside. Cooper DeJean, great upside. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson can be one of the best safeties in the league if he stays healthy. Reed Blankenship steady. It's a solid group. So I feel like building around that, along with a front four now, or three technically, you got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith. Three guys that are going to be there at least 4 years. All of them former first-round picks. All of them from Georgia. All of them absolute dogs. It's a hell of a defense. You don't need linebackers. This has been a very long tangent, but I'm just trying to, I guess, explain why Nakobe Dean might have the breakout that everyone was hoping he would, because he's not going to be like exploited. His deficiencies will be masked because he's surrounded by better talent, and he can be they can just take the reins off him a bit and say, go do your thing. Go do your thing. If you want to go hit hard, hit hard. If you want to go play the running back, play the running back. If you want to spy a QB, do it. Same with Jeremiah Trotter. I know Birdbrain there said he looked more like a rookie yesterday than last week, but I thought he was okay. There are a couple big plays. Don't get me wrong. There are a couple of big plays. I still think he's got a tendency of being slower, like not athletically wise, but in the time it takes him to process. It's weird because everyone praises his instincts, and I'm not saying they're not good, but I feel like the instincts can be there, but there is a delay. Like he doesn't have broadband. He's got dial-up between here and here. And by the time the signal of close gets there, his body is a bit slower. And when he's going, he's fine. Like, I don't think it's an issue of making the right reads. I just think that it's something in there, whether it's like the click to go, whether it's just a slow get off athletically, which I don't think so the case, because he did well in testing, like for the 40 and stuff. I don't know. And that will come in time, I hope. But there are times like when he's going and he's at full speed and he hits someone. When he's in motion, when he's working her out, he's great. But there are times his eyes just get fixed. And by the time he works out where he wants to go and he makes a decision, it's a step too late. And I think that, to me, is still the issue. Like him as a player, I think, again, he has got a fair amount of upside to him. But we'll see. I'm not expecting miracles year one. I think, as I've said since the draft, drafting him where they did was brilliant, because you're not going to have that pressure attached to him now. Like, if he'd have came in second round pick, son of Jeremiah Trotter, one of the best Eagles of all time, and is in a situation where he's expected to play, he's not ready. If you get him in a fifth round where he can develop away from the spotlight, he's not expected to play. He can work up through special teams, build his confidence, expand his skill set, then drop him in year 2, year 3, depending on what happens with Devin White. I think that's a safer play, and I feel like that's what they've done. So I'm all for his development long term. I just think instantly you're not going to see. I mean, you might, but I'm not expecting big things, and I don't mean that in a bad way at all. Tyrell says, "God, please let us draft Barrett, linebacker from Clemson, this draft next year." I need to start stocking up on draft picks. I'm always so late to the process because I don't watch college football religiously. I play golf on Saturdays, so I've just hit. I can hear that with spacebar, can I? Is anyone here? Mad Max there going up the hill. Unbelievable. Oh, I don't know what it is in my house. I live in a war zone all of a sudden. Crazy. Anyway, yeah, I need to get into college football a lot sooner, because I only ever get into it like January, February time. Like maybe a week after the Super Bowl, I'll start reading mock drafts. I'll start, looking at team needs and who's coming out where and watching a couple bits of tape. And then March hits and it's all systems go. But now I understand it better. And college football 25's out, and I've been grinding that, so I'm a big fan, and I can recognize a few players here and there. And admit, I'm going to try and pick a team. I think I'm going to ride with Texas A&M, just because, for those that have been around, I've said the story before. First college football player I ever watched like a highlight video of on YouTube was Johnny Football. Like, I was midway through his Heisman year, came out, and I remember I could never find the song either. I remember the song so vividly, and I can't find it on iTunes or Spotify or any of them. It's really annoying. So I kind of rode with Johnny Manziel, which sucks. I've got a Tiger Cats Manziel jersey back there just because. And I always seem to like a player that comes out. I'm pretty sure Devin Duvernay was A&M, if I'm not mistaken. Aeneas Smith, I liked him as well. Like, there's players that they keep bringing out that I'm a fan of. So I'll be riding with A&M this year, unfortunately, and we'll see how that goes. YouTuber C4, who's also an Eagles fan, does dope draft content. I think I've watched some of his stuff before. If I'll check him out, I'll feed back next stream. But I'm familiar with the name. I think that's the other thing. It is cool. There's so much out there now where, like, you don't have to watch a ton of college football, because there are guys that do so much in terms of breakdowns and stuff. Like, if my little MacBook would work back in the day, my graphics stuff I tried to do would work, I'd have been all over it. But it cooked my MacBook trying to do that. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get an iMac or something, and I'll start doing some videos in the future. But yeah, overall, Eagles preseason game was good. Kenny Pickett was not. That is an alarming issue. I still don't know what their plan is with him. But in my opinion, sometimes, all right, I'll tell you what, I'll give an analogy, all right? And I heard this from as a Tom Hardy TikTok, all right? So it's not mine. I'm not that wise. But it's like, have you ever heard a story? Someone said this to Tom Hardy, apparently. I think it was Charles Manson. And he said, have you ever heard a story about a man that, something flooded and he got stuck to something, and like his leg was caught and he couldn't get out, and the water was coming up? And he was like, no. And he was like, oh, well, they had to get in, the firefighters, to bring him out, get him out of danger. And he was in there too long that he died. The firefighters couldn't get there in time. He said, do you know what would happen if I'd have been there? He said, I'd have said, cut my fucking leg off. Yeah, fucking London geezer, like that, right? And he said, the point of it is sometimes to grow, you've got to cut a little bit of yourself off that you don't want to do. And I feel like the Eagles have to do that with Kenny Pickett. They don't want to do it. They are tied to him. The Eagles are under that water right now, tied to that little post. The post is Kenny Pickett. If they don't cut him off, the QB2 position is doomed. Like, really, I will have no confidence at any point in that year if Pickett has to see playing time. Heaven forbid if there's a substantial injury, right? They've got to do something. Cut off the bit of yourself you don't want, all right? You can live without a leg. You can live without Kenny Pickett. You'll be fine, yeah? Don't worry about it. Get Kenny Pickett out. Find someone else. Give it to Tanner McKee. Give it to Will Greer. Move on and survive. I think that's a good point to end the stream. I know it's nearly midnight. I know it was a bit shorter tonight because I was a bit late. Unfortunately, I've got to be up in around 5.5 hours, which will be fun for a golf thing. So that'll be good. But yeah, I will be back Monday. So I can't wait for that and to hang out and chill with you guys again. I know there's been some new names in here tonight. It's been cool seeing Tyrell stick around through the show. I haven't even bought him yet. That's the best thing. The guy paid me $5 for a cinema ticket. And he's watched the entire movie, staying to the credits. I respect the hustle from Tyrell. And thank you again once more for the kind donation. And all of you guys, to new faces and old, I appreciate you hanging out tonight. I'm sorry I missed Alex's comment. I've only just seen that about Paris Campbell. And to little G Griffith, who's going to be an uncle to a baby girl and an Eagles fan. The wholesome content we love every single time. I will end the stream on this. Jenkins has a chance to be TE3. Yeah, he does. Yeah, you're looking at him. Here I am. Tight end 3. Look at that. Yeah, that's me. Tight end. Can't wait. Let me run that go route, baby. I'll see you there. And on that note, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. I hope you have a sensational time and enjoy whatever it is you may be doing. I will see you all on Monday. If you could leave a like on the way out, that would be tremendous. If not, I will hold it against you forever. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate Tyrell again for the donation. Take care. Go Birds. See you Monday.